video games? Have you ever wondered if you could find out when the next big video games are going to come out? They have a place where you can do just that. It's called E3, which stands for Electronics Entertainment Expo. E3 is an event that takes place over the course of 3 days where new technology revolving around video games is announced. E3 has been around since 1995 and has changed the way people who play games, or gamers, get excited for all of the new games that they want to get their hands on. E3 has gone through several changes since it began, including where it has been held, when it was held, and what was shown. Normally, there are conferences or events where companies announce new technology introduced at E3. The conferences that take place during E3 are Ubisoft, EA, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. These companies normally take this time to introduce new games, technology, and every few years, consoles. The main thing people look forward to when it is time for E3 are IPs and consoles. IP stands for intellectual property, which is a fancy way of saying a brand new game that has never been thought of before, or the first game in a series. Consoles are what you use to play the games that are shown off. A lot of people have consoles in their homes. You may even have one in your home. These consoles were the first to use CDs to play games. Which do you think looks cooler? During E3, tens of thousands of people show up to see what is new in the gaming world. These people range from businessmen who want to know where they can make money to people who come in all types of funny clothes. These people are known as cosplayers, which stands for costume player, because they dress up as their favorite characters from video games or TV shows. Over the years, E3 has changed because of what companies show off at the show, and because the power of video games has increased drastically over the past few years. In 1995, the first E3 took place, and people did not know exactly how to feel. There were a lot of companies that took part in the first E3, and some of them don't even exist anymore. Some of the companies who were at E3 in 1995 were Acclaim, 3DO, Activision, Atari, Capcom, Crystal Dynamics, Konami, and many others. The first day of this E3 had 4 major announcements. They were the Sega Saturn, the Nintendo 64, the 3DO, and the Sony PlayStation. There were quite a few games that were announced, with some notable examples being Donkey Kong Country 2, Street Fighter 2, Comix Zone, Twisted Metal, and Secret of Evermore. The next notable E3 took place in 2000, when the PlayStation 2 was announced. The PlayStation 2 actually went on to be the best-selling console in the world. Some of the major companies at this expo were Acclaim, Activision, Atlas, Bethesda Softworks, and BioWare. This year also was the last year that Nintendo truly supported their system, the Nintendo 64. They felt it was time to move on to better things and use CDs for their games in place of plastic cases. Nintendo realized that CDs, which stands for compact discs, were able to hold more data so their games could look better and last a lot longer. The only other company who had been doing this was Sony, who had made the PlayStation, which we talked about before. This E3, like many other E3s, had plenty of games to show off, with some notable games being Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, Star Wars Demolition, Pac-Man World, Banjo-Tooie, and Perfect Dark. In 2005, the gaming industry made another huge leap and created a notable expo when they first aired E3 on television. The channel that had the rights to E3 was called G4. This was known as a channel only for gamers. For the next 6 years, everything that was related to E3 was shown only on that channel until 2011, but that will be talked about later. Another big deal that was brought up during this E3 was Nintendo's next console, Microsoft's next console, and Sony's next console. The Nintendo console is what we now call the Wii, but then it was called the Revolution. Nintendo chose not to show the controllers for their system during this E3, but they did show off what kind of games would be on their console. Microsoft named their console the Xbox 360, and they had a few games with them to show off just what their console could do. Sony did not quite have their console finished, but they did have video of what their games looked like so people would know what to expect. 2006 became the next notable year when the PlayStation 3 was actually shown, and people saw what it would look like. It looked very futuristic and had a very shiny look to it, which got people excited. The controllers were shown to be a wireless version of the controller for their PlayStation 2 with different kinds of buttons on the top. Many people criticized Sony's conference because they tried to show off their hardware with jokes that people did not find funny and a poor display of what the system could do. Over the next few E3s, there were a few peripherals, which are pieces of technology that companies think will make the system better, like Kinect or PlayStation Move. Another event that happened was, as mentioned earlier, G4 originally had the rights to E3 to air it on television. In 2011, Spike Television got the rights to also air E3, but they had different coverage. The most recent notable E3 was in 2012 when Nintendo showed off their Wii U console and what it could do. The Wii U is the most recent console and newest in the 8th generation of console gaming, which is a big deal. These were the peripherals for the PlayStation 3 and Microsoft Xbox 360. Which would you prefer to have? In 2013, G4 stopped existing and Spike gained full rights to air E3. The 2013 E3 is supposed to debut the actual PlayStation 4 console, the next Xbox/Project Durango, as it does not have a name yet, and show off some more games for both. Sony showed the capabilities of the PlayStation 4 off before E3, but no one will see the actual console until the actual expo. Microsoft will follow in Sony's footsteps and show off the next Xbox before E3, but they promise to show off their actual console, unlike Sony. E3 in 2013 is going to be one of the biggest E3s ever. Many people are very excited about it,